Hey everybody, welcome back into Lettermen Row headquarters for a Lettermen Live brought to you by our good friends at Byers Auto. Got that loaded backfield with me on either side here. Man, Beanie Wells and Boom Herron. Guys, training camp for Ohio State starts on Friday, the first under Ryan Day. I know it's your favorite time of year, Beanie. The guys are about to get the pads back on, get down to work. We're actually going to have real football to talk about.
Man, I love it. I'm so glad, man. It's here. It seemed like, it was so long we talked about basketball, we talked about so many other things. Football is back.
Yeah, football is back, and it gives us a lot to talk about, man. And this is a time, we're going to get to find out a lot about the Buckeyes. We got a lot of, question marks about a lot of different positions and a lot of different guys. So I'm looking forward to it.
Speaking of those question marks, I think we've been talking about it since, the day Dwayne Haskins declared for the draft and Justin Fields was coming in. You start at quarterback, and I've asked everybody about this. We've talked about it a couple of times on Lettermen Live throughout the summer. He's not officially won that starting job. I think everybody here, everybody around Ohio State, everybody in college football expects him to win it. Ryan Day said he's not going to name a starter until maybe 2 weeks into camp. So how have you thought about how Ryan Day's handled that quarterback situation? What do you expect, Beanie, heading into the first of these practices starting on Friday?
Initially, I thought that he should have probably came out and named a starting quarterback to kind of give peace of mind. But then I got to thinking a little bit about it. What drives and motivates somebody more than not having a starting quarterback out there? And the fact that you got to go out and compete and work for your job, and everybody's essentially, at least he's showing that he's giving everybody an even playing field. I like it. I like it. I think these guys are going to go to training camp working hard and competing.
I guess the question that I've got so often, Boom, is that, in the summer, you want to know who that starter is so that he can become the leader. Like, does that matter into a locker room of a team? Guys in the locker room, players going through workouts, or can you kind of tell? Want that guy's he's taking the reins. I think he's going to win the job anyway. How's it work for the players?
You could tell. I mean, you could just tell by the guy's presence. Even when a guy walks into the locker room, it's like, all right, well, maybe we need to stop, clowning and get serious. So one of those guys will step up with that. And like I said, I'm looking forward to it. And like you said, I like what Coach Day is kind of doing because it gives both guys the the opportunity to really fight for the job. It's not like you just picking a guy and all right, we're just gonna roll it now.
I think it's interesting, and you guys know this far better than I do. But from what I saw last year of Dwayne Haskins, it's not just time getting comfortable in the system, Beanie. That took maybe 5 or 6 weeks. They weren't even completely done, according to Ryan Day. At the end of the year, they were about 70% capacity, which is a scary thought. But just talking to the media, watching how he interacted with players, how he commanded the huddle. Dwayne Haskins didn't seem to find his voice for a little bit of time, and he was fortunate in that respect that he had those 3 wide receivers to carry the load. So what kind of leader is Justin Fields going to be like? How long will it take until he takes command so that if you got a veteran running back, a J.K. Dobbins, is he going to be speaking up or carrying the load, or does he want to defer to the quarterback? You've been in these situations. What is it like when you're breaking in a new quarterback for the rest of those guys on offense?
I think it's tough. It's hard because especially if the guy doesn't come in and kind of make his presence felt as a leader. You always want to rally around those quarterbacks. I mean, nonetheless, you may have guys that are leaders in the backfield or on the offensive line, but the quarterback is the end-all, be-all. If you can't rally around him, if he can't motivate the guys when things get tough in the game, that makes it a little bit more difficult because you don't know if you have full confidence in a guy that isn't going to be verbally expressing to you how much we need you, how much we're counting on you, the things that you need to do to be better. So I think for him to establish that leadership right out the gate, and hopefully he has in spring ball and is translating the training camp. If he doesn't, it's going to be rough, rocky road.
Lettermen Live brought to you by Byers Auto. Getting ready for training camp. We're going to have that obviously covered for you at Lettermen Row all month long, starting on Friday throughout the opener up until August 31st. Boom, you talked about some other question marks. I mean, for you, if we move past quarterback, what are you most curious about? What is unsettled in your mind that Ohio State needs to get figured out here in the first couple weeks of camp?
Oh, we got to see what the defense. We got a couple positions. With the linebackers. Defensive line. I think the whole defense as a whole. You got some new coaches just to see how those guys come and get the players going and see who they pick to put in certain positions. Like Beanie was saying earlier. I think some guys were out of position last year, so I think this year they have a job of finding out where guys need to be at this year.
Even from a schematic standpoint, I think last year there were times where we should have been in zone coverage when we were in man.
Right.
I think now, with speaking with some of the coaches, they're going to run a mixture of both, and they're going to run what fits the guys and the personnel that they have. They're not just going to say, this is my system, go out and play it.
Right.
You got to play to your players' strengths, and I think we'll do that.
And that was easier to do, right? Like, Greg Schiano didn't forget how to coach. I'm going to, to say that he had forgot all the defense that he learned over years. It's not true, but it's a lot easier to go say, this is my system and I'm going to run it when your entire secondary are NFL guys.
Right, exactly.
When you have the best pass rush in the country, it's a lot easier to just say, go do that. And now this team is still every bit as talented as some of the others that Ohio State's had, maybe more so. So you can do whatever scheme system you want. If something's not working, change it up. So I think that's going to be a key maybe here for Jeff Hafley, Greg Madison, Al Washington. How versatile, flexible do you want to be? And then how much is too much? Because you guys have been players, you know this, that let's talk about when you're playing fast, well, you can't ask somebody to do 100 different things, right? I mean, you get bogged down in that. But
Yeah, that's definitely the case. You want the guys. It's funny because I was telling one of my guys the other day, he has a little league team and he was talking about running all these plays. I said, man, you can't do that, man. You got to give these guys a couple plays so they're out there playing fast. And it's the same thing with the Buckeyes. You got to figure out what we're good at, what we're comfortable with, so those guys can go out there and play fast, and they're just running around and playing fast.
I've got a couple guys that I'm looking at Beanie to break out in this month, and guys who can really help the Buckeyes. I don't want to steal your thunder. I don't know if you've got some under the radar guys that you're looking for, somebody who you think really needs to have a good camp. But who are you looking for Ohio State in August to kind of take the reins a little bit?
This is the same guy whose name I've been hollering for the past 3 years. That's DeMario McCall.
Okay, all right.
I think you knew where I was going with that one.
I mean, I'll put the tee out for you.
Right. He's just a player that I watch and I know has so much ability. And like a lot of times that happens not just at Ohio State, but across the landscape of college football, there may be one or two reasons as to why you don't get the opportunity to be on the football field and you don't get to showcase that. But I think, he may be out of that doghouse now. He may get an opportunity to, I don't know whether it's an H-back or to be the second team running back. He's going to get an opportunity to make an impact on the field.
I think it's another reflection, too, of the depth that Ohio State has, that everybody knows what DeMario McCall could be, but he's still going to face a lot of competition there. I think Jalen Gill can really be a star at H-back. If he's competing in the backfield, you've got Master Teague and Marcus Crowley there. It's just not easy to get on the field. You guys have done that. You've had to earn your stripes. It's hard at Ohio State to get that playing time, and DeMario McCall's not going to have it handed to him, because even if he's at H, Ohio State's talking about, where you have KJ Hill, obviously, and then Jeremy Rucker. They're trying to get him on the field in a different sort of look. So it's just hard to get the football in your hands. Sorry for jumping in there, Boom. But
No, you're good. I mean, like you said, we got a lot of guys, we got a lot of talent, man. So we really just got to figure out, where these guys can be put in position where they could, play fast and make big plays. We got a lot of guys out there, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Other one, Taraji Mitchell, that middle linebacker competition.
Yeah, tough Borland right there. I mean, we know he struggled a little bit last year. He was coming off that injury. But did that open the door up for somebody else?
Yeah.
And with the new coaching staff, there's like, all right, I mean, do you have any loyalty to any player?
When you guys have seen coaching staffs change, have you really felt that clean slate has happened, or do you guys wonder if they still hold some over for returning starters? How's that worked for your careers?
I think I wouldn't say it's a complete clean slate, because obviously, you have some guys that have been there and they've put their dot on the university, so it's like, but I think it gives guys opportunity. The door is back open where another guy can step in and
it's cracked.
Yeah, exactly.
You can kick it down. It's up to you.
Yeah, exactly. So I think with that case, there's going to be some guys that might have the opportunity to take some guys' position.
Those opportunities start on Friday.
Yes.
I'll be there. We'll be talking about it, obviously, with Beanie and Boom. Their podcast is back. You can check that out on Lettermen Row. If you haven't been listening to that, it's available on all streaming sites. Check these guys out as they go in depth with whatever comes to mind. Especially, I think, on that latest episode talking about Mike Thomas getting that money. So
show me the money.
Right.
So that's a good one. Be checking that out, checking out our coverage. We're going to cut the backfield loose here and kick it over and bring Jeremy Birmingham in for an Ohio State recruiting update on Lettermen Live, brought to you by Byers Auto. All right, he's back from vacation. The recruiting dead period is over. It's Jeremy Birmingham, the director of recruiting at Lettermen Row, joining us now on Lettermen Live, brought to you by Byers Auto. And Birm, you weren't even back from your trip, and it seemed like the sky was falling on Ohio State running back recruiting. What has happened? What's the situation? How are the Buckeyes responding? Put all this in context for us.
It's kind of crazy that the dead period turned alive real quick, and unfortunately for Ohio State, that was pretty awful because they ended the dead period feeling extremely confident and comfortable in their positioning with 5-star running back Bijan Robinson and 4-star running back Jalen Knighton. Knighton visited Florida State over the weekend, and all of a sudden that recruitment spun on its head. He committed to Florida State on Tuesday night. Bijan Robinson still has his scheduled announcement coming on Friday, and at this point the Buckeyes no longer believe that they are the team he will choose, despite having been told previously that they were going to be the team. They're still kind of reeling. They don't really know what happened. It was a situation early where on both fronts there was family members that wanted the player to stay closer to home, and in the course of the relationship building and the visits that were made to Ohio State, the Buckeyes felt that they had overcome that, and I don't know if it's one of those things where the dead period just allowed an opportunity to really sit and think, or families who had different opinions were able to get more footing, or what happened. But the Buckeyes really had no idea what caused the sudden change of heart from Bijan Robinson. With Knighton, they kind of understood it. They knew that there was this opportunity for him to visit Florida State right before making any announcement. And if he did make that trip, then they were a little bit skeptical about what would happen. He's a Florida kid. In these recruitments, if you followed it at all, things kind of go wild in Florida, and there's still 5 months until signing day. So they're certainly not out of that by any chance. But with Bijan Robinson, if that decision gets made on Friday as expected, it no longer looks like they'll be the case, and they're just kind of shell-shocked.
All right, so who now jumps onto this board for Ohio State? Because as you said, the Buckeyes pretty much thought they were done.
Yeah, they thought they were finished with running back recruiting, and in fact, all of the offensive recruiting for the class of 2020. And now, as I wrote about on Tuesday, one of the biggest questions I think from here is whether or not they still decide to take 2 running backs in this class, because you want to. That's the ideal number for this group, and it has been for a while. But now as the numbers get tighter in the class, and then you start to realize you have less and less options that you really wanted to pursue, now you wonder, is it time to just go after one guy and bank one for the future, or just count on Master Teague and Marcus Crowley and Steel Chambers for next year as well? So E.J. Smith, the son of Emmitt Smith, is probably the guy who I would think would be moved to the top of the board now for Ohio State if Bijan Robinson decides elsewhere, which it's likely he's looking at USC or Texas. If that happens, I believe E.J. Smith, who visited Ohio State twice last year, who plans to take an official visit to Columbus this fall, who isn't making a decision till December, is the best fit for a number of reasons, because he gives them a lot of time to situate themselves and figure out where they want to go. Plus, he's a really talented running back, obviously the son of the leading rusher in NFL history. So he's a fit from a culture standpoint and talent standpoint. He's more of that all-purpose back like Knighton, and not really the bell cow every down back that they were looking for with Bijan Robinson. So that's, I guess, the question is if they think that they have that player in Crowley or Steel Chambers or Master Teague, then do they just defer that to next year? So if something goes wrong with E.J. Smith, I think they look closer to home. There's 3 really good running backs in Ohio. Torrance Davis up at Cleveland Glenville, who's committed to Kentucky. Mayan Williams at Cincinnati Winton Woods, who's committed to Iowa State. And then Michael Drennan, who's, again, all-purpose slot back type of, maybe more of a slot receiver. He's at Dublin Kaufman High School, and he's been on the radar for a while. But I don't know that he's a fit for the Buckeyes, because he's not a natural running back, and they already have everybody covered in the receiving game with their 4 receivers and Cameron Martinez. So it's a bad scenario for Ohio State, because they have to completely reshuffle this board when they had spent months getting it to where they wanted with Knighton and Robinson, only to see it undone in a 20-hour stretch.
Sometime I've looked at this, and I've been of a couple different minds about it, but I'm curious how you feel about it. But you look at the way that this offense is evolving under Ryan Day, the absurd amount of talent that's coming in at wide receiver, and the way that the offense is sort of transitioning to a more passing attack. Obviously, you want to have a productive running back. You need a productive running back. You need one of those all-purpose guys back there. But to me, it just seems like, well, if you don't get a 5-star running back at Ohio State, who cares? Because you have all of these dynamic athletes elsewhere at the skill position. I mean, is this really that big of a deal? Is there a huge premium still to put on this position?
I mean, I think it's a numbers game, and you're right, though. The last 5-star running back to commit to Ohio State was Lettermen Row's Beanie Wells back in 2006. Okay, so it's not like this is a program that has been forced to get 5-star after 5-star after 5-star. They did pretty darn good with 4-star guys like Ezekiel Elliott and J.K. Dobbins and Carlos Hyde. Okay, they found good players. Marcus Crowley was the state player of the year in Florida a year ago, one of the best programs in the country. Brian Snead from Florida was the 3rd-ranked running back in the country, and unfortunately things went awry for his career at Ohio State, but they've recruited well enough. They don't need a 5-star guy. What they need is a guy who's versatile enough to play out of the backfield in the passing game, and they need a guy that's able to help as a pass blocker, which is something that Ezekiel Elliott and Mike Weber and J.K. Dobbins have done so well. So I'm with you. I don't think that the premium is what it used to be. It's an offense that is predicated on spreading the ball around, but they still want that power back for those, the running game is still the starter of that offense, so to speak.
All right,
but I digress.
You touched Berm before you get out of here on Lettermen Live, brought to you by Byers Auto. It seemed like the class was largely done, especially with those running backs. But what work is left here? As that numbers game gets tight here and camp starts and the focus starts to go a little bit more towards the on-field product.
Well, what I'm looking at right now is another defensive lineman or two in there. They need a defensive tackle in this class with Ty Hamilton and Darion Henry, who are both combo guys that can play anywhere on the line. I think they need a defensive tackle. I think they need a traditional, solid and only a defensive end. Somebody like Desmond Evans, who in North Carolina would be the dream get there. He's a 5-star kid, and the next guy in that Chase Young, Zach Harrison mold, that 6'6", 245-pound guy coming in. He's sort of a freak like that. And I think that they really aren't done looking at offensive linemen. I think that they have 6 committed, obviously, but they want to make sure that they're getting the best 6 they can. And I think that there remain some questions, and fair enough, from people about Trey LaRue and his development. The body hasn't changed as they had hoped it would in the last 6 months, so there's some questions there. But ultimately, now it's about running back, defensive line, and just keeping your eyes open for an offensive lineman that could be a potential game changer or a difference maker in year 1.
All right, more great stuff from Berm, from Beanie, from Boom. The Killer Bees on a lineup here with the Lettermen Live, brought to you by Byers Auto. I feel out of place here with my name, with Austin Ward. Bringing you this show. I'm going to have to change it to Boston, I guess, to fit in here on the live show with all you guys. Great to talk with you guys, catch up. Camp is here. We're going to be out there Friday morning. Berm's going to be hanging out with me. We're going to have full coverage of you for you throughout the month of Ohio State as the Ryan Day era really gets rolling. I appreciate you joining us here today on Lettermen Live, brought to you by Byers Auto. We'll see you next week.